Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to the Spanish World Networks on Single TV channel 250 and 249. Please remember to download both the Single TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free and available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Roku, and all smart TVs. Today I'm really happy to have my good friend Eric. He's a former pro baseball player, and we are going to have a very good conversation about everything that you are doing now. It's very similar to what I am doing, so I am really excited about that. So how are you, Eric?
Hello, Alejandro. I'm doing very well today. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on, and I'm excited about this conversation.
So this program is about our belief system, how that is helping us to become really better or stopping us to really achieve what we are supposed or what we are dreaming about. So I want to start with what are you doing now, Eric, and then we're going to start to go back in your life. Okay, I know that not always the life was as good as it is right now. So tell me a little bit about what you are doing now, and then we can start to go back.
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. So I am now a certified high performance coach. I started my own business called Full Potential Living, which is the mission is to powerfully and positively impact millions of people across the world on a year-to-year basis. I have started that and launched that, and it's going. It's started well, and I became a certified high performance coach to kind of give myself even more of a framework so that I can impact people with a methodology and a real level of professionalism bringing to the table. So I just felt like it was something I wanted to do to up my coaching. I've always kind of been a coach, Alejandro, like my whole life. It's like a purpose of mine, man.
Yeah,
I just feel like I've always been that. It's just a matter of time before the whole journey, which we'll kind of get into, that I've made it here, and I'm really it's all rolling now. So yeah, that's
awesome.
a
I really connect with what you are saying because happened similar. I was in corporate for 15 years, working in different positions, and when I started to do this, it's like, okay, what is really coaching? I don't understand. I understand it in the sports world, but not really in the corporate world how to do it.
yeah.
And when I started to learn about it and I started to practice, it's like, oh, this is something that I have been doing, but I didn't have a clue that this is exactly what I was doing. So that is
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for me, coaching, like coaching now as a certified high performance coach, being in Lifebook, being a certified high performance coach is totally different from being an athletic coach, in the sense of really diving into to pull the answer out of the individual.
mm,
Because you think of like an athletic coach, I don't know about in your experience, but like, you're telling the guys what to do, you're organizing the team, you're getting them in line, you're making sure they go through the drills as a former baseball coach, um, and you're telling them what to do and what they need to do and the advice. But what I've learned is like to step back and realize that the greatness is already within the individual. It's just about asking them the right questions, and it naturally pulls them out. So it empowers them. And that's kind of the difference I've seen between like athletic coaching of being like, firm and like, fellas, you got to do this, you got to do this. Okay, get to the line, make sure you get your drills into like stepping back and going, wait a second, what does your full potential life look like? So
yeah, and really in the coaching, in this high performance coaching, what you are finding is okay, let's understand what is your goals, and from there, let's start to push. But not in the other side. In the other one, it's like I am the coach.
yeah,
In the athletic
yeah.
side, I already know what I want you to do, and I don't care if you like it or not. You have to do it.
I'm sure you experienced that in the corporate world, right? Of having
Yeah,
that leader where somebody's like talking down and like this is what you do, and they have to talk through a manager. Do you have that experience?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start to go in your life. Like, okay, now you doing high performance. You were a pro athlete in the past. Tell us a little bit, like a moment in your life that you believe was like a time where, okay, not everything was okay, or there were some issues. That how was the feeling at that moment, and how you really started to learn to go through that things that you were going through.
Yeah, well, first of all, I can think of multiple times where I was in a difficult spot. I was in a really difficult spot, and I've made this very courageous leap into what I thought was going to be next for my life, and it's always been very difficult. So the one that really comes to mind when you ask that question, man, is when I was traveling in Nepal. I was post post baseball. I actually had like a 2 or 3 year span where I was kind of lost in who I was, and I didn't know what my identity was outside of the game of baseball. So
Mhm.
I was an athlete, and I was tunnel vision on one thing my whole life. And I was like, professional athlete, college, professional, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going. I had this tunnel vision, single pointed focus, and it, helped me. But after I was about 25, I remember, Alejandro, I was on the field in my last season, and I was doing some stretches and some warming up and kicking my leg high and warming my body up. And I looked at the fence, and something just like downloaded or came to me. And I looked at the fence, and I was like, who am I outside of baseball? Who am I outside of being an athlete? And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. I have no idea. And these things started to come into my mind, like, what if you traveled? I had a brother who traveled before me, traveled many years, and I saw him change quite literally. The person he was in South America, and went, you know, fluent in Spanish, and I'm not there yet, not anywhere close, but he became, he transformed. And so I went down that journey after, and there was a point to kind of answer your question, where I felt the weakest. And it was when I was traveling in Nepal, in the Himalayas. I was hiking, I was trekking through Annapurna, which is the 8th or 10th highest peak in the world. Annapurna 1, I can't remember exactly, but I went to the base camp, and I just remember meeting people. And when I met them, and I went on a farm and did all this stuff in Nepal, but it was the weakest point I've ever felt in my life, because I was in the middle of this transition of, I was an athlete before, you know what I mean? I was like this athlete. I was disciplined, I was focused, I was determined, I was very like this masculine energy. And then what happened was, after, when I traveled, I let go of a lot of those negative sides, which were not those, but other negative things. And I just felt so weak. I didn't have confidence. Alejandro, I looked people in the eye when I had a girlfriend that I met in Nepal, and I couldn't even look her in the eyes. I would look at her, and just, I would feel timid. I didn't have the confidence that I used to have. And so I went into this like very low place of confidence. I don't want to say it was necessarily depression, but I had no confidence. I couldn't speak very well. I couldn't look people in the eyes. And that was a really tough time that I had to develop and find myself, sort of uncover myself
Mm,
after that.
mm.
It's been a journey since that was about 6 years ago.
And really, what you are saying is very important, because I believe that happens to a lot of people, not only when you are an athlete. I have seen that from people that it is in churches, and they are being volunteers there and doing a lot of things, and suddenly all the identity is the church and nothing else.
Yes.
I am not saying that it's good or not be a volunteer there. It's fine. It's awesome. But when you put your identity there, that is where an issue happens. Or happened the same with me when I was in corporate, and then I decided to step to one side and start to start my own business and start to find something else. Okay, who am I? Like, I don't know what I can do. I
Yeah.
don't know. I like 15 years of doing this. Suddenly, I am completely lost. Why did you move from the sports to another thing? What when you were telling about that story of being on the fence? Because I want to connect with that idea of there are sometimes it can be at 25, it can be at 30, it can be at 40. It doesn't matter the age, but sometimes we go to get to that point of "Ah, I don't know what is happening, but I don't
Yeah.
know who I am. You know?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people experience this at different parts of their life. And I know, I experienced this at 25. I call it just, a crossroads. I was at a crossroads and I was like, what is really next for my life? And I thought, I don't know. And I had to go explore. And I think, traveling outside of the country for me and seeing other cultures allowed me another perspective to see myself, who I was in that American society, who I was as a person, what was my ego, my personality, get to know myself really outside of the system that we kind of fall into. So for me, it was that gave me the opportunity uh, to see to see more about myself.
Mm, mm. How you started to find yourself? You were in Nepal. You started to do different things. What you felt that really helped you to now I know who am I, and I
Ooh,
can start to do something
ooh,
about it. What
ooh,
happened when you started to find out?
ooh, that's a good question, man. I think one of the things that I help people with now is like finding purpose, and I think any good coach, like you help people find purpose in their life, and so for me, like I really so what happened was I traveled to Nepal. I ended up going to India, Africa, Europe, lots of places. But after I got back from Nepal, like one of my first kind of deep trips, I was in the Himalayas. I was there for 44 days. I met all these people. I had all these experiences. This culture was 180 degrees different from how I grew up. And so basically, when I got back, um, I I just lost my train of thought. But you said the question exactly.
It's about what did you do to really start to find
Oh, to
yourself?
find my purpose. That's right. So to find my purpose is I remember sitting back in the United States in Connecticut, and I was on my dad's porch. I didn't have much money at that time. I was traveling and working and traveling, and I basically remember just sitting on the porch and I was writing to myself, and I was just trying to write out what I just experienced in Nepal
Yeah.
overseas. And I wrote to myself, and these things just started to kind of come to me, so to speak, like these downloads or just kind of like a higher intelligence. And it was like the 6 a.m., the sun was coming up, it was beautiful, trees around me. I'm on the backyard, it's out in the country. And I just remember like looking up at the sun and everything. And it came to me and I was like, wow, my life is for the happiness, is to live for the happiness of all the beings.
Mm,
That's literally what my life is about. And to me, that means like making the world a better place. My purpose is to serve others, is to help them, help myself live my full potential and then help other people do the same. And that's the moment. And it necessarily doesn't have to be a moment for everybody, but for me, it was a moment. And it was like, oh, it was like a light bulb,
Yeah.
light bulb goes off. And it was like, oh, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm on the planet for. And it gave me a direction and a path to start to live from here, to live from my heart, and to live to serve others and to serve the planet, to upgrade the consciousness and to make the world a better place. And that's what happened.
And when you find out this, you started to see like, oh, this is something that you start to find out. What started to happen for you to start to find like, okay, what is the way? Now I have a purpose. I want to help to elevate consciousness in the world. That's awesome. Really, I have the same one. For me, it's one of my words that I use even as a success is consciousness.
Yeah.
So you start to find out, wow, I am here. I start to find out this is my purpose. What was the next step?
Yeah. So I think what I realized was that life is kind of two parts. It's about the surrender, is kind of letting go of how life turns out. And it's also the taking action. So I just focused on what I was excited about most, what I was inspired by most at that moment. And when I did that, I started to follow a road that led me to teaching yoga and doing lots of things. But what I did was follow like the next most exciting thing that was in alignment with my purpose. So it started down this path of getting to here where I'm this full-time coach with a podcast and all these things. But it started with following, understanding the purpose. Oh, I'm here to serve. And the next step is, okay, even sometimes you ask, okay, how do I serve the world? Like, and then sometimes you get an answer, or sometimes you figure it out yourself. And you go take action on something that you're just excited by, and then it kind of starts to unfold the way it's supposed to unfold. So it's kind of those two parts.
And in that part, when did you find out, okay, I want to be a coach? Why do you and how you feel that
Ooh.
you were being prepared to become a coach during your life? Like how you can connect stories from the past to really finding out like, okay, I love this and I want to help people with this area, because you can decide, like you were saying, yoga or being another thing. Like there is a million of things.
Mm-hmm.
Why coaching?
So I think I went into a couple different things. It took me years. I think like what a coach does is it allows you to shorten the time frame of trying to figure things out. But for me, I went into yoga. I started teaching yoga because I came from India and I learned ancient yogic teachings that changed my life of enlightenment and understanding what we're here for, kind of the same thing. And so I went into that. But then I've figured out that coaching was the career path and the purpose, because I went back into athletic coaching. So I went to yoga, I went back home to Colorado, and then I was a coach. I was an athletics coach. So I coached baseball, and I worked for a company, and I did lessons full time, and I coached teams, full teams, very competitive teams, to make them better, or to help them all improve and to play a full season out. It was that point where I realized that, I love coaching. I love coaching. I love to see like the transformation. So I would train these athletes hitting lessons, and month goes by, 2 months, 3 months goes by, and I would see on video, because we would shoot the video, I would see where they started and then where they were 3 months later. And I was like, wow, that's impact. That's impact. That literally changed their life. And so when I saw that, I started doing that more and more and more and more and more. And then I got to a point where I realized that baseball I was like hitting the ceiling.
Yeah.
I was like, there's only so much you can do as a baseball coach. There's only so many drills and lessons you can do. And I started to think outside of that. I was like, okay, at least I know this. So for people like trying to find your purpose, at least I knew like you can kind of do it one step at a time. So at least I knew like, okay, I'm definitely a coach. There's something that really resonates with me and I love it, but it's not in baseball. It's like some other way. And then I got into personal development, life book, online, and then I got into high performance coaching. So I realized that it was the coaching, but it wasn't baseball. That was a whole other journey we can talk about, but that's how it got me into being a full-time coach. And I just know, you just know when you know that it's like, this is what I'm here for. This is how I'm supposed to help others and impact the world and live in my purpose. So yeah.
We have Kevin telling your story is fascinating, and I completely agree. It's really really awesome, Eric.
Oh man, Kevin.
So now you start to understand. You are starting to coach people in the sports part. What happened to start to move to other areas, or you stay helping people in the sports, but as a coach in this area, or how you started to develop like the other skills to start, or even the confidence
Yeah.
to I like, okay, I know that I am an expert on sports, but I want to do something else also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the confidence came from getting in touch with my purpose and knowing that this was what I was supposed to do. This is like the best thing for me to do. And so the confidence came from that. And then, but there was a whole transition. I mean, that was like 3-4 years of transitioning from being a athletics coach. So I was doing lessons during that time, Alejandro. I actually started my own business called Built to Thrive, but I decided that that wasn't really the path for me. And so I was working for this company. I had some tough times and made some mistakes. I made some mistakes for sure. And there's no doubt about that. And accidentally burned some bridges, and I didn't mean to.
Mm.
But after that, I started my own company, and what did that for a year. I did it all on my own. Again, I took the leap, and I just had the courage to just go all in, and it worked out. And what I always tell people is like, the confidence and comes from taking the courageous leaps. It comes from just going for it and just doing it. And when you do that, the universe takes care of you. It really does. I've seen it. I can't tell you how many times, Alejandro, like, how many times I've started over, transitioned, changed, gone to a new place. It's been a wild ride. And I know that every single time that I follow my excitement, that I have the courage to just go after what I'm excited by, that the confidence comes and it builds. So for people out there, like, your confidence will build when you take the risk, and then it'll build more, and then you take more risks and it becomes a habit. And you realize that when you do that each time, that it's building your confidence more and more, and you realize that the universe is, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, it's always got your back. It's always got your back as long as you follow what you're excited by.
I want to ask you, because this that you are talking about, following your emotions, and knowing that the enthusiastic part is going to help you to find the path, it's really amazing. But that is also part of your belief system. It's something that you have started to develop, and suddenly you start to find out that that's the way to start to find out the path. So I want to ask you, if you remember, when was the first time you took one of those?
1 second.
Yeah.
It's a big-
one of those courageous leaps? When was the first time that you remember, like, okay, you were very afraid, completely afraid, doing it? How were you feeling? And what happened? How was the process? Because I know what you are saying is completely true, but when you have been doing it for 10 times, it's like you already know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you don't have fear. You can have it, but you develop a belief system that knows that something
Yeah,
good is going to happen out of that.
for sure. I know you've probably experienced this too, and I think probably a lot of people have, but it's really like, it's not, it's not about doing things without fear, because we're always feeling fear. We're feeling these things, and uh, it's not about acting without fear. It's about acting with it. It's about doing it anyway, right? There's that quote. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So for those people that are really wanting to take risks, but they're kind of scared of what might happen, what I would say is like, take the first small risk. That can be something like, normally you're afraid to go, you may be a little shy to go talk to somebody in person in public. Just walk up to them and say hi. Just walk around town and say hi to people. Create an event where you bring people together and you invite 5 people, and you make dinner, or some kind of event. Start small. So if you're really paralyzed by the fear, start very small with a small risk, because that small risk is going to lead to a bigger risk that allows you to be more of the abundant self that you truly are. And so start small. If you have that, I would say start small. And that's something that's helped me. I mean, taking smaller risks at first of, everyday things, like I mentioned. And then that leads to, ooh, what is possible? When you take that risk, you see, as humans, we naturally have that. Like, I rock climb. I'm a rock climber now.
Yeah.
And at first you're really scared, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can get up there. But after you do a small wall inside, and then you complete it, you're like, ooh, what's next? What more can I do? Like, what's the next big thing I can do? And when you do that, it leads to more of it. So I would just say start with the small risk first.
And if we start with, just to start to help people that is listening, we have Simin telling, good, you found it and you got the belief and the courage to go your way. uh, I agree with what you are saying, but we want to help you also to start to take the decisions on how we do it. So one of the things that we do when we are doing high performance coaching is a clarity session. So if you don't have clarity of what you really want, it's not going to be really possible to start to take those leaps. Like, okay, why I have to take this leap if I don't have a clarity of what I really want?
Mhm.
Why I have to talk with that stranger, as you are saying? I know that it's little, but if I don't have clarity of what I want or who am I, it's going to be difficult to take even those little ones. So start to have clarity of, okay, let's start to find out what is my best version, what my best version will do. Uh,
100%. Yeah.
what are those words that can connect with the interaction, like how I can be my best version when I am talking with a stranger or
Yeah.
a person that I love. And
Hmm.
with that clarity, you start to find out like you have more courage than you ever know.
100%.
But the reason is you have clarity of what you want. I have this program, and when I started this program, I really was thinking that I needed wanted to be in public in any way, ever.
Yeah, amazing.
And
It's
suddenly I have this program that it's almost a million people watching, and it's like, how that is happening?
right.
Okay, I took the leap, and it's like how I took the leap is I knew what is the clarity that I have and
Yeah.
what is exactly what I want to create. So I have heard a lot of times from your side talking about purpose, and I really agree that it's another thing that helps you a lot. So let's start to talk about that part of purpose. To find out your purpose, how are you helping customers and people that you're coaching to start to find out their purpose?
Hmm.
What are the first steps?
Yeah, well, like you said, the first steps is to get clear on what you want, is to get clear on following what inspires you, and finding a roadmap of how to get there. So, I think like you said, the clarity session is huge. Like you have to start there. I was on a call earlier today with a new client, and we started talking about what was really holding him back, and why he was not feeling confident, and why he lost his purpose. He first started to talk about his job and how he lost his job, and he felt like lost after losing his job and this and that. But then he started to talk about his mind, and he started to talk about his mind was clouded, and he felt like he
Mm,
didn't know where to go. And so he reached out to me to find clarity. And what we realize is that when you have the crystal clear clarity of where you want to go, now you're like, oh, it's not that I'm not capable of doing this thing. It's not that I'm not courageous at times. It's that I just don't know. Uh, I'm not clear on what I want and how I get there. And
mm,
so when you get the clarity from a coach, then, it's really coming from yourself. A coach is helping you pull that out of yourself. When you get that, now you can go, okay, what is really meaningful to me? And I think one point that's really important, Alejandro, is that I think like a purpose can kind of be an overarching thing, but it doesn't have to be just one thing, you know? It doesn't, like, a purpose doesn't have to be your career. It doesn't have to be, making a certain amount of money. Your purpose is something a little deeper, it's more meaningful. And so I think people think purpose and they think, oh, it's got to be a specific career or this or that, and it's typically not that. The purpose is something a little deeper and a little more meaningful that kind of encompasses everything that you do. So the way I help people do that is, number one, clarity, getting clear on what you want, and knowing and removing the roadblocks and the clouds in your mind, and getting that out of the way. Let the sun shine, and
yeah.
then after that, it's about following the next step. Like I did after Nepal, I followed my inspiration. What do I want to do next? What's my goal now? Where do I want to go? What resonates with me, not with everybody else, not with this guy, that guy. What resonates with me? Okay, I'm going to take action on that. And by doing that, your purpose unlocks itself and goes, oh, by following your excitement, you find your purpose in the clients that I help, in myself, of course. That's how I found it. And then I help my clients do that as well.
Awesome. So we'll start with clarity. At the end, if we have clarity, that it's going to help everybody. And really talking about clarity is important because that is something that a lot of people in the world right now is lacking clarity. Okay, I am doing the job because I have to do it. I have to live. I have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I am not saying that it's wrong to, of course, we need to live and we need to pay the bills, and that is all of that is important. But having clarity of who you are can help you to start to find out, like, okay, I know that I am playing baseball, but maybe this is not exactly what I want to be. And it's, I am doing it because that's what I know, but not exactly who I want to be. Or in my case, I was in corporate so many years, and I lost even the excitement of doing that. I was like, oh, another day,
Yeah.
and I passed almost like 2 years with like another day of working and doing this stuff until I started to find out this coaching. So. Uh, what do you feel is the difference between a high performance coach and other type of coaches?
Yeah, high performance coaching. I did quite a bit of research out there of what was the best. What are the best programs to being a coach? And I think certified high performance coaching is one of the best I've found out there. And I think what kind of separates high performance coaching is that it's not just about one thing. It's not just about success. It's about success and fulfillment. It's about being able to do both without sacrificing anything. And it's actually setting goals. I help people set goals in their relationships. I help people set goals and make them happen in finding friends, finding a love partner, or just cultivating a better relationship, or stopping a habit that they're not happy about, or getting to the gym, small things like that. Or it can be very big. It can be, I want to, impact thousands of people with my new business. I have high performers like that in there too. So I think high performance is amazing because, most people can come in and go, hey, I want to improve this area of my life. Then they realize, oh, wait, this, and this area of my life are not going well. My personal life is actually, if I take care of this, my work is going to be way better. And then
Oh, we lost Eric for a second, but
that's,
uh, oh, you're here. Perfect.
yeah.
I lost you like the last 20 seconds that you were
Okay.
talking.
Yeah. So it's essentially like this holistic system that you look at. You can set goals in different areas of your life, and have it all come together, and really, that's kind of one of the parts that makes it really different and superior to a lot of other coaching programs out there.
So we have another comment from Simin saying, don't give your fears the power to hold you back from your purpose. It helps to see the fear as a friend who wants to protect you. Just say to this friend, thanks a lot. I trust myself and the universe. I love that. And even the way of reframing, it's something that we do as coaches. How I can help you to reframe the problem that you're going through. Start to change the idea of, okay, that fear, maybe it's a friend that can help you to elevate yourself. So what do you recommend for people that is like, okay, you were saying a lot about courage and taking the leap. How do you recommend somebody, even from your experience or even a story from your experience, about, okay, I was completely with a lot of doubts and fears, but I took that fear like in one side. What did you do and how you did it to really become that courageous person that took that leap?
Yeah. What I would say is like it's kind of going back to what we were talking about is like the fear. The fear is going to be the most when you haven't taken risks. It's going to be the strongest. It's your mind is going to say things like, no, don't do that. This could happen, or that could happen, or this could happen. But you know the first time you're really taking this risk, if it's been a while or you just want to take more bigger risks, you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. There's really no like way around it, is like knowing that the fear is there to protect you. It's there for a reason. But it's really there, because on the other side, whatever created us here has put joy, purpose, an amazing life on the other side of fear. It's always on the other side of fear. By going at those fears, you probably feel something that you're excited by, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to do that." ooh, but I'm not sure that this person will like me, that person will like me. I don't know if it'll work out. I don't know about the process. But, you just have to understand that I think when you build awareness around it, Alejandro, when
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is what's happening in me, awareness is like that step where you're like, oh, this is the fear that's happening when I want to do that thing. At least now I'm aware of that. So now I can, change this time, or I can change that next time.
Mm.
So you become aware of the fear and like, oh, like even if you're hearing this, next time you have an excitement, you go to do it, but you feel the fear and you're like, I don't know. Remember this conversation. Remember that you're going to feel that fear. Like Marcus Aurelius of Stoicism, talks about how you're you're going to have that fear, but you've got to do it anyway. Like you're going to have that fear. So it's about understanding that, becoming aware of it, and then realizing, okay, this time I can go for it, and you just do it anyway, and you'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised that because what most people say is like when they get into it and they're actually doing the thing, it's really not that bad. They're like, why
Yeah.
was I so fearful? Why was it so bad? It's not that bad. I'm just doing this now. But it's just getting over that. So it's building awareness and then getting over that fear and just doing it. And then it's just going to become a habit over time.
And something that I love to even tell to people is sometimes when that fear is so big, it's because it's in your head and it's not written. When you start to write down,
Mm.
okay, I am
Mm.
feeling this and this and this, suddenly, and you start to describe everything, suddenly it's like, oh, it's not that big as it is in my head. It's not that uh, like that bad. I was thinking that it
Mm.
was so big and so horrendous that I don't want to do anything about it. And it's like suddenly when I am writing about it, it's not that difficult. It's not that bad. And what is the worst thing that can happen? It's like, oh, maybe nothing. Maybe the only thing that is going to happen is I am feeling more confident and better. So I agree with what you are saying. It's like have the awareness and start to when you start to write it a lot. And I am saying with a pen. I know that we are so technological nowadays that it, sometimes it's difficult to have a pen, but really writing connects better with your mind and what is happening. So I love what you are saying, and at the end, that's we wanted to give it even in the program a way to help people that is listening and hearing about this. Eric, I it's incredible, but we're in the last 5 or 7 minutes of the program.
Woo, it's gone quick. This is
So,
awesome.
in regards of like you find your purpose, you start to find out what to do, you start to take the leap and start to decide with that purpose. I do this and I don't do this. Anything that you recommend to people that is still looking for their purpose or are like, okay, I have an idea but not really completely the clarity. Any recommendation?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things you can do. I think for me, I've found my own coaches where I was like, where's my business going? What do I need to do with the next steps of my business? And I've gotten help. Sometimes you need to get help. Sometimes you need a coach or somebody that can guide you, kind of be that GPS or the map that helps you get to where you want to go. So sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need a shift in perspective. Some people, I know a good friend that when he was younger and he wanted to change his life and he wanted to get over his fear, he had to relocate and he moved to a different place and he had a new experience, new environment. You can also go outside and like get into nature. You can get connected. I live in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado, and I go to the mountains And, I get up into nature and I clear my mind. So sometimes the clarity can come from getting away from the busyness of life, getting away from a lot of people, getting away from the being on the rat race or working too much or going here, 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 here. Sometimes you just need to pause. Go, wait, what is that clarity? What do I want? How do I take the next steps?
Mm.
So I would say there's multiple things you can do to get that clarity, but yeah, sometimes it's help, sometimes it's nature, sometimes it's a different perspective. Sometimes it could be a book. You could read a book and go, oh, this is what I want. You know what I mean? This is my relationship I want. This is the mindset I want, So it can be many things, and those are some ideas. Or you can write it down like you were saying.
And really, at the end, the idea of, and we're not selling the coaching here right now, even, but if you have an idea that you want to a coach, like, oh, I like this, and I like Eric, the way he's doing it. So coaching is really helping you to get to the place that you want to get in a quicker way. Why? Because awareness is key. When we have all the product that we have in our head, like everything that we learned in the past, we believe that that is true, even when we don't. We because we're not thinking about that until we start to be aware of that. It's like, oh, that is not true. That is not that big. That is not that. That's why I was telling. When it's in our head, maybe it's huge.
Yeah.
When we start to write it and we start to talk with somebody that has some skills to help you to ask you questions about, okay, is that really true? I was saying one time when I was talking with one of my coaches, like, I want to leave a legacy in the world. And he was like, oh, you really want to leave a legacy? So die tomorrow. That is a legacy. You are going to leave the legacy. You die tomorrow, and that's your legacy. And he's like, no, that's not exactly what I want. I want to do a lot of things. Like, okay, start to tell me what is legacy for you. And that's where all the clarity start to happen. Like, oh, I understand what is legacy. So,
Yeah.
Eric, how people can connect with you, how they can know more about all the work that you are doing, the area that you're helping people.
Yeah, I would love to connect with a lot of people, and I love to impact others' lives and just connect with people. So you can find me at full-potential-living.com is the website. It's actually going to be totally remodeled in the next month, so it's going to be totally different a month from now. It's going to be totally upgraded, but there's that. My Instagram is also full_potential_living, full potential living. And then you can also find my podcast, which is the Full Potential Living podcast, which is on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Google, it's on many platforms. And there's going to be some very big guests coming up at the end of June and also in July as well. So those are the three main areas. You can pretty much, my name is Eric Ferguson, and you can pretty much look up Full Potential Living in these different areas. So.
Awesome. So I love it. Thank you, Eric, for today. Thank you, Simin, Kevin, that you were sending the messages. Simin, the last one that you sent about feel like a hill. I love it. It's very easy to see and to understand. Eric, one last comment that you want to say, like, okay, if you forgot about everything, this is the quote or the thing that I want you to remember. What is that?
That, your full potential life is completely possible. That if you follow what you're truly inspired by and you have the courage to just do it anyway, that on the other side of that fear is your greatest life, is your full potential. So don't settle. Do not settle. Live in your full potential. Go for it. You got one life. If you fast forwarded to the end of your life and you went, how do I want to live? how do I want to, you said a legacy, Alejandro, how do I want to do this? It would be, how do I want to do it? So it's about going after what you're truly inspired by and live that full potential life, whatever that means to you.
Awesome. So thank you, Eric. It was really amazing, your story, and thank you everyone that was listening to us today. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out the SpanglishWorld.ca for all the news and programming. The Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you, Eric. Thank you all.
Thank you. See you guys.
See you.